doctor, right? What is it, fourth and quarter? So she sees this, I mean, every single day, and I kind of want to get their take because she was doing. Well, I think you just put me on the spot greatly. However, I do agree with what that gentleman was saying. I think that it's very, very easy to watch the movie and say they should have done something. This is what they should have done. But when you're in this situation every day, we're not going in it with malice. I love every single one of those babies that's in that building, and when I work there, they're my children too. But the two things I think we're forgetting is we answer to people as well. So there's only so much we can do before we get in trouble. And so if we had the freedom to go around and say and do and act on some of those things, we would. I think we do the best we can with what we have, and I think the other thing that we're forgetting is that we ask why were people hitting him on the bus? And I think we even saw it in the film. Bullies are bullies because they feel bad about themselves, right, because they were bullied. So I think sometimes we're forgetting that the children that were bullied are hurting too. And so, everybody needs an intervention. They need support as well. So it's just so easy to sit back and say, here's the victim, here's the bully, but they're all victims because they're just in the society of hate, and it's so much greater and bigger than what we can do alone. So I guess I was just doing because it was like we do the best we can, and I felt like at times that they'll really just blame the school. And yes, there are things that we do wrong, there are things that I do wrong, there are things that many schools across the nation do wrong, but there are a lot of things that we're doing right, and I just felt like there's societal impact. It does come down to a lot of family things, and I just felt it wasn't a clear representation of everything that was going on at all times. That's all.
Do you want more power to act?
Yes.
How do you get it?
Exactly. This is the thing. Their solution was yes. We need to be the change. We need to reach the students. We need to empower them to befriend the bullies. Yes. But when we say stop bullying, yes, we all need to stop bullying. How? What are the steps that we can take as counselors, as teachers, as
without getting in trouble?
I don't even want to say without getting in trouble, but without overstepping professional boundaries. Okay, basically, because I mean, you really can't overstep the line when you get very emotional in situations. What can we do realistically? Opens a whole other can. My mom, our two aunts, my brother, all the teacher, and our next one's counselor. And with the education budget cuts that have happened in the surrounding states, the support that they need to do their job has gotten so much less. So that kind of opens a whole other thing too, where my mom teaches kindergarten, my brother teaches 4th grade, Diane's an elementary school counselor, and that age is where they need it the most. There's all this education funding getting cut. If these children are not educated and they don't have the support, how will they break the cycle? How will they get a chance? That's the question that I have.
I have one teacher over here that would like to say something, Jen D'Arpino, from Master Charter Valley Campus. There's 3 teachers here, actually. Hi. As I was sitting here and just listening to the conversation, like, I understand that, you know, there's certain things that you can't just go forth and do as a teacher because, you know, there's certain boundaries that you can't cross, but I think the most important thing is sitting down as a school, as, like, administrators and principals and having that conversation, because I know starting this year, I didn't really realize it was that much of a problem of bullying because this is our 2nd year as a turnaround school. And now that we're realizing, like, yes, bullying is an issue at our school, I think sitting down with our principal, sitting down with the other administrators and figuring out a plan instead of just, you know, hearing it in the classroom, hearing it from parents, hearing it from the kids, and then trying to deal with it as a teacher alone. I think the number 1 step is coming up with an action plan and sitting down and figuring out, okay, as a school, these are the steps we're going to take, and that every time this issue comes forth, this is how we're going to address it. And I think when you do that, then you can kind of get away from maybe the red tape that's kind of in place. Whereas we saw those schools in the documentary interviewed and they're like, oh, we don't really think this is an issue, but it clearly is an issue, but maybe they're just not coming together as a school and talking about it, because it's a hard thing, I think, as a school to admit, yes, there is bullying, because that kind of creates, like, anxiety amongst the kids in the school, amongst parents that are sending their kids there because then they're thinking, well, I'm letting my kid come to a school where there's bullying. But yes, this is an issue. So coming together as administrators, as people in the community, having conversations, having parents come in as, you know, you have to be together in it and have these conversations ongoing and trying to figure out, these are the steps we're going to take. If kids are coming in and they're not feeling safe, what are we going to do to figure out and address these issues?
I just wanted to respond to that, to add on to something. I think institutional action and the action on behalf of the staff and faculty is probably the most important thing. I think, in addition, I add on to that, making sure that there's youth voice present in that conversation. If you look at this movie, the youth in this movie are so articulate. And the thing that's most enraging about the vice principal is that everyone's saying these things and she's not hearing them. That's why, and she's not necessarily representative of all administrators, but that's why she's the one I think that sets it off for everyone. But almost every single youth in this movie, without exception, is pretty explicitly articulating their experience and their feelings and how it could be better for them. And so I just want to, I guess, also encourage us to consider the voices of the young people who are experiencing it, both as bullies and as victims and as bystanders, within our administrative conversations, within our policy conversations, because I think they've got the answers.
I'll say this question.
Yeah, I just want to speak. My friend and I are here. We are special ed advocates for various school districts in the area. But overall, I was disappointed that the special needs community was not addressed at all in the film, because I think the running statistic right now is that kids with autism have about a 90% chance of being bullied. So, I mean, obviously that was very disappointing to not see that addressed. And I feel like, you know, parents they're already struggling just to keep their kids, you know, performing academically and functionally up with their peers. And that's a huge struggle. And then they still have to fight bullying, you know, on another front. They have two fronts to fight. So I was actually, you know, say that I was disappointed to see that. And second, you know, and honestly, this is my second career. My first career was with a major retailer, and we had, after September 11th, had huge budget cuts, and my payroll was slashed in half and everything else. And it's like, you know what? I made it work, and I still ran a very successful division of that company. So I'm kind of getting tired of this argument of there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. Make it work. That's your job. Find a way to make it work.
As a parent, I watched the film, and my sister probably said, I'll tell you, I cried from the beginning of the film, so I felt powerless, because as a parent, we can't read our children's minds, and we don't know what goes on during the day. And a disconnect between the school and the parents, that needs to be addressed. That's their budget cut. Yes, children don't talk. But there has to be something so that when children come home from school, from being bullied, and talking to a vice principal, that's first of all communicating with the parents, so the parents can then continue the conversation. So it doesn't get ignored, it doesn't get pushed under the rug until the next day.
Cool.
Yes. Do you have a question right there?
Where?
Right there.
Turn around, look at the camera, smile.
Hello. I work in public school autistic support programs, paraeducator, assistant paraeducator. I just want to say that with us, we have bus monitors, and when you have bus monitors, they can handle that situation before the child even gets into the school. But I don't understand why there weren't no bus monitors in the program at all. And that's all I really have to say. Thank you.
I have a very different kind of question. If a child is so bullied that they have to be transferred out of the school from their neighborhood and into a private school to keep them safe, and the tuition is high, and the parents can't afford that, who should be responsible for that?
Any ideas?
I would say, I think that the administration, who's ever running the school, I think they should be the ones held responsible, because I feel that the responsibility of making sure that the environment of the school is one that's comfortable and one in which children are able to learn without being harassed is their duty. And so if they're failing to do that, then it should be on them to take up that responsibility. I'm from the program that we have in North Bryson Institute. We actually go and do trainings with schools or with churches or other organizations that have the capacity to support us, and actually work with people with their homophobia, racism, and have conversations as to why they have these feelings and why they should basically, understand that there are differences in people and our differences are our commonalities. And we should make a workplace or a school acceptable and comfortable for everyone to be in.
Question up here.
Are you a student?
In my,
Oh, okay.
There we go. You look young.
Thank you.
My name is Grisha, and I've worked for the Boys and Girls Club in Philadelphia. And one thing that I noticed when we were watching the film is the kids the ones that were bullied didn't seem to be involved in anything. And working for an organization who tries to keep the kids involved and make sure that they have a safe haven or a place to come to when something happens, I didn't see that in the movie, and I was hoping that the parents, once they seen that their kids were being bullied, that they involved them in something to build their self-esteem. I mean, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and the first thing I did was put her in cheerleading, put her in different activities to keep her involved, and then she makes friends, and then it makes it easier for them to evolve in society. For me, at least that's how I felt. And I felt like they didn't involve them in it. They didn't involve them, and that's what they needed.
Real quick, right back here, man.
my question to the educators, everybody that works in the school system or on the board or anything like that, at what point do you say, you know what, enough's enough? It's not about giving educators, it's about giving human beings first. We are seeing these children suffer every single day. I was a victim of bullying most of my life, and one thing that helped me out is family. Why can't the communication be between the parents, the teachers, and administration? If you can have a conversation with the parents, they may understand better how to deal with these things. And like DAngelo, I went to a Catholic college at Villanova, and one thing, I contemplated suicide many, many times, but I had a mother that prayed for me, and as I'm going through the process how I'm going to end my life, she drove those 2 hours to be there for me because she knew that something was wrong with their kids. The communication needs to happen between the kids and their parents, but the teachers and the administration need to start first. How many times must a child say I'm being bullied? How many times it must be documented? How many times is a bully to be threatened is going to be in your file? It should never ever get to that point. Be a leader and a role model for these kids first, educator along with that. Because they don't have role models. Who do they look up to in school to show them that being strong for themselves and loving themselves is the first and most important thing that a kid could ever have in life? If you don't do it for them, they'll never know it, especially if they're not communicating with their parents at home.
Just a couple of things, just on a somewhat of a positive note. One of the things that the U.S. Attorney's Office is doing is we're trying to coordinate with a whole bunch of different organizations to deal with bullying and anti-violence issues. One of the organizations is the Philadelphia Eagles. We're right now actually involved in a program at Germantown High School where it's actually a 10-week program. And our thought is that we want the kids to be in a dialogue. We call it Voices of Youth because we want to hear what the kids have to say and give them an opportunity to actually speak in their voices rather than being spoken at or to. And so that there can be this communication going back and forth, and to allow them to actually express their concerns about the police, about the school administration, about their teachers, about their families, about their friends, about what's going on in the community. And so this is a program we're running there. Also, I should say, with respect to the lesbian LBGT community, we started a program in Delaware County dealing with school-age violence. And one of the things we found in speaking with kids who are of the community, they are saying that the administrators oftentimes don't listen to them because they just call bullying, it's just generic bullying. But they have a specific concern and it's not being addressed. So I think one of the things that we're getting out of our efforts as we move forward is, number one, it is critical to listen to what the young people have to say. Especially, it doesn't matter who you are. If someone is saying they're being bullied, you've got to take action. You've got to stop it. And the second thing is, we have to just all feel feel for other people. I mean, the empathy, I think, is just so lacking in the administrators in that film, and I just think that it was almost a caricature of the way a human being should not be. But I just think that we've got to really start feeling how someone else is being and what they're going through, and then coming up with a way to help that person.
Yeah, it's like that father